The Inner Citadel. Imagine yourself standing at the edge of a vast battlefield where armies clash and chaos reigns in every direction. The noise is overwhelming, the clash of metal, the cries of conflict, the thunder of uncertainty rolling across the landscape. Yet within your chest, you carry something that no external force can breach, a fortress of calm, a sanctuary that remains untouched by the storm. But here's what seems impossible to grasp. This citadel grows stronger not by building higher walls, but by opening its gates wider to what lies beyond. The ancient Stoics spoke of something they called the inner citadel, the unconquerable fortress of the human spirit that exists within each of us. This isn't a place you retreat to in order to hide from the world, but rather a space from which you engage with life more fully. The paradox is striking. The more you surrender control over external circumstances, the more powerful your inner sovereignty becomes. How can letting go of what you cannot control actually grant you the deepest form of control imaginable? On one hand, you might think that strength comes from resistance, from building walls thick enough to keep out pain, disappointment, and uncertainty. You construct elaborate defenses against the unpredictable nature of existence, believing that if you can just control enough variables, you'll finally feel safe. This approach seems logical. Protect what matters, fight for what you want, resist what threatens your peace. On the other hand, the Stoic understanding suggests something far more mysterious. The inner citadel isn't built from resistance, but from acceptance, not from controlling outcomes, but from mastering responses. You begin to see that your true power has never resided in your ability to manipulate external events, but in your capacity to choose how you meet whatever arises. The fortress walls aren't meant to keep the world out. They're meant to create a sacred space where wisdom can flourish regardless of external conditions. Consider what happens when you encounter a devastating loss, perhaps the end of a relationship that meant everything to you. Your first instinct might be to rage against the unfairness, to replay conversations in search of different outcomes, to exhaust yourself trying to change what has already unfolded. This is natural, human, completely understandable. Yet notice how this struggle against reality adds a second layer of suffering to an already painful situation. Now imagine approaching the same loss from within your inner citadel. The pain is still there. The Stoics weren't advocating for emotional numbness or indifference to genuine loss. But from this inner sanctuary, you can hold the pain without being consumed by it. You can acknowledge the grief while simultaneously recognizing that your essential self remains intact, that your capacity for love hasn't been diminished by loving someone you couldn't keep. The citadel doesn't protect you from feeling, it protects your ability to feel clearly. The practice of building this inner fortress requires a fundamental shift in how you understand your relationship with circumstances. You begin to see that events themselves are morally neutral, neither inherently good nor bad, but simply phenomena arising in the endless dance of existence. What transforms any situation into something beneficial or harmful is the meaning you assign to it, the story you tell yourself about what it signifies. This doesn't mean adopting a naive optimism that pretends suffering doesn't exist or that all outcomes are equally preferable. Rather, it means recognizing that your peace of mind doesn't depend on life unfolding according to your preferences. You can prefer health over sickness, success over failure, love over loneliness, while simultaneously holding these preferences lightly enough that your fundamental well-being isn't shattered when reality takes a different course. The inner citadel becomes most apparent in moments of external chaos. Picture yourself in a situation where everything seems to be falling apart. Perhaps you've lost your job, a relationship has ended, and health concerns have emerged all at once. From the perspective of circumstances, this might appear catastrophic. But from within your fortress of inner sovereignty, you begin to notice something remarkable. Your capacity to respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively actually expands during challenging times. You discover that adversity can serve as a kind of spiritual gymnasium, strengthening qualities within you that might have remained dormant during easier periods. Patience deepens when tested by delay. Courage grows when faced with genuine fear. Compassion expands when you encounter your own vulnerability and recognize it reflected in others. The very experiences that seem to threaten your peace become the raw material for developing unshakable inner resources. This understanding reveals one of the most profound aspects of the inner citadel. It's not a static structure, but a living, breathing space that grows more spacious through engagement with life's challenges. Each time you choose wisdom over reactivity, acceptance over resistance, love over fear, you're not just responding to a particular situation, but actively constructing this inner sanctuary. The citadel is built one conscious choice at a time. The beauty of this approach lies in its complete availability, regardless of external circumstances. Whether you're wealthy or poor, healthy or sick, surrounded by love or facing loneliness, the inner citadel remains accessible. It doesn't depend on favorable conditions because its very nature transcends the realm of conditions altogether. This is perhaps why the Stoic philosophers could maintain their equanimity whether they were serving as emperors or facing execution. Their true source of strength existed beyond the reach of fortune's fluctuations. As you continue to explore this inner landscape, you might notice that the boundaries between yourself and the world begin to shift in unexpected ways. The citadel doesn't separate you from life, but reveals your deepest connection to it. When you're no longer desperately grasping for security in external arrangements, you become free to love more openly, to contribute more generously, to engage more authentically with whatever presents itself. This freedom carries its own profound responsibility. From within the inner citadel, you begin to see clearly how your responses to circumstances don't just affect you, but ripple outward into the lives of everyone around you. Your peace becomes a gift you offer to a troubled world. Your wisdom becomes a lighthouse for others navigating their own storms. Your love becomes a force for healing that extends far beyond the boundaries of your individual existence. The practice is ultimately about learning to distinguish between what Marcus Aurelius called what is up to you and what is not up to you. Most of life falls into the second category: the weather, other people's choices, the timing of opportunities, the inevitability of loss and change. But within the small realm of what is truly up to you, your responses, your values, your moment-by-moment choices about how to meet reality, lies infinite possibility for growth, contribution, and peace. As you rest into this understanding tonight, let yourself feel the quiet strength of this inner sanctuary. It's not about building walls thick enough to block out the world's pain and beauty. It's about discovering the space within you that can hold whatever arises with wisdom and grace. It's not about solving the puzzle of existence, but about finding the peace that exists beyond the need for solutions.